The day the stars spoke back changed everything for humanity. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the control room of the Arecibo Deep Space Array, watching data streams that should have been impossible. For 3 days, radio telescopes across Earth had been picking up the same signal, a complex mathematical sequence that could only mean one thing. Someone was trying to talk to them. "It's definitely artificial," said her assistant James Park, his voice shaking with excitement. "The pattern is too perfect, too organized. This is first contact, Elena. This is really happening." Elena nodded, but her hands trembled as she reached for the emergency communication device. Within hours, every major government on Earth would know. Within days, the world would change forever. The response came faster than anyone expected. 3 weeks after humanity sent their reply, a simple mathematical progression showing they understood, the visitors arrived. They didn't come with weapons or threats. Instead, 12 beautiful ships appeared in Earth's orbit, each one a work of art that gleamed like silver in the sunlight. The ships were elegant, curved like shells with no visible weapons or aggressive features. They looked peaceful, welcoming even. The first transmission was in perfect English, though the voice speaking it sounded strange, like wind through crystal. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are representatives of the Galactic Council, a union of civilized species that has maintained peace across the galaxy for over 10,000 of your years. We come in friendship and with an offer that will change your destiny forever." President Martinez sat in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by military advisors, scientists, and world leaders connected by video link. The alien representative appeared on the main screen, a tall, graceful being with pale blue skin and large, kind eyes. It called itself Ambassador Thren. "Your species has reached the point where it can join the greater galactic community," Thren explained, its voice calm and reassuring. "We have watched your progress with great interest. Despite your difficult history, you have shown remarkable potential." The ambassador gestured and holographic images filled the air around the conference table. Beautiful cities floating in space, planets covered in crystal gardens, ships moving between stars like dolphins through water. It was everything humanity had ever dreamed the future could be. "The Council represents 47 different species," Thren continued. "We have eliminated war, poverty, and suffering from our territories. Disease is unknown among our people. We have turned our attention to art, science, and philosophy. We offer you the chance to join this golden age." Secretary of Defense Williams leaned forward. "What would joining the Council require from us?" Thren's expression remained gentle. "Very little, considering what you would gain. First, you would need to demonstrate your commitment to peace by dismantling your military weapons. War is unknown among Council species. We have evolved beyond such primitive needs." The room fell silent. Williams spoke carefully. "All of our weapons?" "Not immediately," Thren said with what might have been a smile. "We understand this will take time. You may keep planetary defense systems during a transition period, but yes, eventually all weapons must go. In return, you will receive our protection. No force in the galaxy would dare attack a Council member." The second requirement seemed easier. "We would ask for volunteers from your population to participate in cultural exchange programs. Perhaps 1% of your people spread over several years. They would live among us, learn our ways, and help bridge the gap between our species." Dr. Sarah Kim, the president's science advisor, asked, "Where would these volunteers go?" "What would they do?" "They would be honored guests in our most advanced facilities," Thren replied. "They would study our technology, our art, our philosophy. Many would choose to remain permanently, finding life among the Council far superior to what Earth can offer. This is natural and expected." The third requirement was Council oversight of human expansion into space. "Your species is young and impulsive," Thren explained. "Without guidance, you might encounter dangerous species or stumble into conflicts you cannot handle. We would help you choose which systems to colonize, which technologies to develop. Think of us as wise older siblings protecting you from the dangers you do not yet understand." The negotiations took months. Not all world leaders agreed at first. Some military officials raised concerns about giving up Earth's defenses. A few scientists questioned why such an advanced civilization would be interested in primitive humans. But the benefits the Council offered were overwhelming. Clean energy that could power the world forever, medical technology that could eliminate cancer, aging, and genetic diseases, faster than light travel that would let humans explore the galaxy. Most convincing of all, the Council shared recordings of other species that had joined them. Happy, prosperous civilizations that had left warfare and suffering behind. The Zephyrians were much like you when we first encountered them 3 centuries ago. Thren told the Assembly of World Leaders. Aggressive, warlike, suspicious of others. Now they are among our most valued members. Their entire population living in harmony and prosperity. The holographic recording showed tall, graceful aliens with feathered crests, working alongside other Council species in vast laboratories and artistic workshops. They looked healthy, content, and peaceful. General Harrison, the Joint Chiefs representative, remained skeptical. How do we know you won't just conquer us once we've given up our weapons? Thren's large eyes seemed to show genuine hurt. General, look at our ships. Do you see weapons? Look at our history. In 10,000 years, the Council has never attacked a peaceful species. We do not conquer, we invite. We do not enslave, we liberate. Every species that has joined us has done so voluntarily and has thrived under our guidance. The ambassador paused, then added gently, "We understand your fear. Your species has known only conflict and competition, but there is another way. Let us show you what true civilization looks like." The final agreement was signed on New Year's Day, 2157. Humanity officially became a probationary member of the Galactic Council, with full membership to be granted after a successful transition period of 5 years. The celebration was worldwide. Church bells rang, fireworks lit the sky, and people danced in the streets. Humanity had joined the galactic community. The age of war was over. The future had arrived. Elena Vasquez watched the festivities from her apartment balcony, but she felt uneasy. Something about the Council's perfect answers bothered her. How could any civilization be so completely without conflict? How could 47 different species agree on everything? But her concerns were drowned out by the joy around her. Her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, leaned over from the next balcony. "Can you believe it, Elena? My grandson might live forever. He might travel to other worlds." "What a time to be alive!" Elena forced a smile. "Yes," she said. "What a time to be alive." Above them, the Council ships hung in the sky like silent guardians, their silver hulls reflecting the light of celebration from the world below. Inside those ships, Ambassador Thren made his final report to the Council. "The humans have accepted all terms," he transmitted. "Integration will proceed as planned. This species shows promising potential. Their technology is crude but innovative, and their biology is remarkably adaptable. The harvest should be quite successful." The response came immediately. "Excellent work, Ambassador. Begin Phase 2 immediately. The Council is eager to add human capabilities to our resources." Thren looked down at the celebrating planet and felt nothing. After 10,000 years, the process had become routine. First came the promises, then the dependency, then the harvest. The humans would learn the truth soon enough, but by then it would be far too late. Captain Sarah Chen never expected to make the discovery that would change everything. She was supposed to be conducting routine mineral surveys on the edge of Council space, cataloging asteroids for future mining operations. It was boring work, the kind of assignment given to junior officers who needed to prove themselves. Her ship, the UES Pathfinder, was small and unremarkable. Unlike the newer vessels that came equipped with Council technology, the Pathfinder still used human systems. The Council had explained that newer ships would be provided once humanity completed its transition period. But for now, older vessels were sufficient for simple survey work. Sarah was grateful for the human technology. She understood every circuit and system on her ship, unlike the mysterious Council devices that other crews relied on. When something broke, she could fix it herself instead of waiting for Council technicians. The discovery happened on the 4th day of what should have been a routine mission. Sarah's sensor operator, Lieutenant Marcus Rivera, called out from his station with confusion in his voice. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange. There's a ship out there, but it's not showing up on Council navigation charts." Sarah moved to look at his screen. "Pirates?" "No, ma'am. The hull design is wrong. It's too old, too advanced. Look at these readings." The ship hanging in space before them was massive, easily 3 times the size of their vessel. Its hull was dark and scarred, but Sarah could see elegant lines beneath the damage. This wasn't human technology, but it wasn't Council design either. "Life signs?" she asked. "Negative. The ship appears to be derelict, but its core systems are still active. Some kind of automated beacon is broadcasting, but in a language our computers don't recognize. Sarah made the decision that would haunt her dreams and save her species. Take us closer. Prepare a boarding party. The airlock they found was designed for beings taller than humans, but it still functioned. Sarah led a team of 4 onto the alien vessel, their portable lights cutting through darkness that had lasted for centuries. The ship's corridors were beautiful despite the decay. Curved walls were covered in artwork that seemed to shift and flow in their lights. Strange symbols were carved into every surface, telling stories Sarah couldn't read but somehow felt were important. "Captain," called Sergeant Torres from ahead, "I found what looks like a command center." The bridge was enormous, built for beings at least 8 feet tall. Dust covered everything, but the main computer core still glowed with a soft blue light. When Sarah approached it, the system seemed to sense her presence and began displaying symbols. "Lieutenant Rivera, can you interface with this system?" Rivera worked for an hour, connecting portable computers to the alien ship's core. Finally, he looked up with excitement. "I think I've got something, Captain. The ship's AI is still functional, and it's been trying to maintain some kind of record. I'm attempting to translate now." The translation took 3 days. What they discovered made Sarah's blood run cold. The ship belonged to the Zephyrian Empire, the same species the Council had praised as successful members. But these records told a very different story. The logs began 300 years ago when the Council first contacted the Zephyrians. The early entries were hopeful, excited about joining the galactic community. But as time passed, the tone changed. "Council oversight has expanded again," read one entry. "They now control all our military academies. Our young people are being selected for advanced training programs off-world. Few return, and those who do seem different." Another entry. "The cultural exchange program has taken another 1,000,000 of our people. Council officials assure us this is normal, that they are living prosperously on Council worlds. But we have received no communications from any of them." The final entries were desperate. "We know the truth now. The exchanges are not cultural programs. They are harvests. Our people are being taken as slaves, workers, experimental subjects. The Council never intended partnership. They intended conquest. We are the last free Zephyrian ship. All our worlds are under Council control. Our population has been reduced from 8 billion to less than 50 million, scattered across labor camps in Council space. We have no weapons, no allies, no hope. To whoever finds this record, the Council lies. They are not peaceful. They are predators. Every species they have welcomed has been enslaved. Humanity, if you receive this message, do not trust them. They will promise you the stars and give you chains." Sarah stared at the translated text, her hands shaking. She thought about Earth, about the celebrations, about the thousands of human volunteers who had already departed for Council space. "Ma'am," Rivera said quietly, "there's more. The ship's database contains records from dozens of other species. All the same pattern: contact, promises, dependency, then systematic enslavement. The evidence was overwhelming. Species after species had followed the same path humanity was now walking. Each had been promised partnership and peace. Each had given up their weapons and sent their people to Council worlds. Each had vanished from the galactic stage, their civilizations erased and their populations enslaved. How many people has Earth sent to Council space?" Sarah asked. Rivera checked his records. "According to our last communication, about 200,000 volunteers have departed. They were supposed to be studying at Council facilities." Sarah closed her eyes. 200,000 people gone. How many were still alive? How many had already discovered the truth too late? "Captain," called Torres from another console. "You need to see this. The ship's AI has been monitoring Council communications. They're planning something called Phase 3 implementation for Earth. The intercepted messages were in Council language, but the ship's computer provided translations." Sarah read them with growing horror. Human military capabilities have been sufficiently reduced. Planetary defense systems are now under our control. Population centers have been mapped and prioritized for processing. Phase 3 can begin ahead of schedule. Recommend immediate implementation. Human technological innovation is proving more dangerous than anticipated. Several volunteers have begun asking questions about missing colleagues. Delay increases risk of discovery. Agreed. Begin Phase 3 within 60 days. Full integration of Earth to proceed as planned with previous acquisitions. Sarah realized they had perhaps 2 months before the Council moved to complete their conquest of Earth. But how could she warn anyone? All communications went through Council systems. Every ship had Council observers. Every major facility on Earth was monitored by Council technology. "Captain," Rivera said, "I have an idea. This ship's communication system predates Council technology. If I can get it working, we might be able to send a message Earth's old emergency frequencies." "Do it," Sarah ordered, "and prepare everything we found for transmission. If humanity is going to fight, they need to know what they're really fighting against." As Rivera worked to restore the ancient communication system, Sarah studied the tactical data the Zephyrian ship had gathered. The Council's strength was overwhelming. Thousands of ships, dozens of worlds, populations in the billions. But the records also showed something else. The Council's member species weren't volunteers. They were slaves controlled by fear and mind-altering technology. Their ships were crewed by beings who had forgotten how to fight, who had been bred for compliance rather than combat. The Council had grown soft and overconfident. They expected easy conquest because they had never faced real resistance. Every species they had encountered had given up without a fight, seduced by promises of peace and prosperity. Humanity might be primitive compared to Council technology, but humans had something the Council had never encountered, a species that had evolved through constant warfare, that understood violence and strategy in ways the civilized galaxy had forgotten. "Got it," Rivera called out. "The communication system is online. We can reach Earth's emergency networks." Sarah sat down at the alien console, thinking about what message to send. How do you tell an entire planet that their saviors are actually their destroyers? How do you convince a species drunk on promises of utopia that they need to prepare for war? She began typing, her words simple and direct. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Pathfinder. I am transmitting from a derelict ship on the Galactic Rim. The Galactic Council has deceived us. They are not our allies. They are slavers who have conquered dozens of species using the same lies they told us. Earth has 60 days before they complete our enslavement. We need to prepare for war." The message transmitted into the void, racing toward Earth at the speed of light. Sarah didn't know if anyone would receive it, or if they would believe it if they did, but it was humanity's only chance. As the Pathfinder began its long journey home, Sarah looked back at the Zephyrian ship hanging silent in space. Soon it would be all that remained of a proud civilization that had trusted the wrong promises. She would not let that happen to humanity. Dr. Marcus Webb had always been proud of his work with the Council's scientific exchange program. As Earth's leading expert on alien biotechnology, he was one of the first humans chosen to study Council medical devices. The opportunity felt like a dream come true. The Council facility outside Geneva looked like something from a science fiction movie. Crystal towers rose from manicured gardens, connected by bridges that seemed to float in midair. Inside, humans worked alongside alien scientists, studying technology that could eliminate disease and extend life for centuries. Marcus's Council supervisor was a being called Researcher Vex, a tall creature with gray skin and 6 arms that moved with impossible grace. Vex was patient and kind, always ready to explain the complex principles behind Council science. "Your species shows remarkable adaptability," Vex often told Marcus. "We are most impressed with human potential." For 6 months, Marcus learned about Council medicine. He studied devices that could repair genetic damage, machines that could regrow lost limbs, and treatments that could stop aging completely. It was incredible work, and he felt privileged to be part of it. But slowly, Marcus began to notice things that didn't make sense. The medical devices he was studying weren't designed for healing. When he looked closely at their construction, he saw components that seemed built for control rather than treatment. Neural interface ports that could override brain function. Genetic modification systems that could alter behavior and memory. Drug delivery mechanisms that could make patients completely dependent on regular treatments. When Marcus asked Vex about these features, the alien's explanation was always reasonable. "These safeguards prevent misuse of the technology," Vex would say. "Primitive species often harm themselves with advanced medicine if not properly guided." But Marcus's suspicions grew when he was assigned to study Council population management systems. These devices were supposedly used to track public health on Council worlds, but their capabilities were disturbing. They could monitor individual brain activity, alter emotional states, and even control basic bodily functions. Why would a medical system need to control people's thoughts? Marcus asked Vex during one of their sessions. Vex's 6 arms gestured calmly. Not control, guide. Many species require assistance to make proper health decisions. The system simply helps them choose what is best for their well-being. The explanation felt wrong, but Marcus couldn't prove anything. All his research was conducted under council supervision. He never saw the complete specifications for any device, only the portions Vex chose to share. Everything changed when Marcus received an encrypted message on his personal communicator. The message was brief and unsigned. Check council override protocols on medical devices. Use human diagnostic tools only. Trust no one with council clearance. Marcus didn't know who had sent the message, but it gave him an idea. That night, he used his own portable scanner to examine a council medical device while Vex was away. What he found made his stomach turn. Every device contained hidden systems designed for population control. The healing technology was real, but it was wrapped around surveillance and manipulation systems that could monitor and control every aspect of a patient's life. The devices could track location, read thoughts, alter memories, and even shut down vital organs remotely. This wasn't medicine. It was a slave collar disguised as medical care. Marcus began secretly documenting everything he found. He used his human equipment to scan dozens of council devices, always when he was alone. The pattern was consistent. Every piece of council technology contained hidden control systems. The population management devices were even worse. They weren't just for monitoring health, they were for controlling entire populations. The systems could alter brain chemistry to increase compliance, suppress aggressive thoughts, and even make people forget specific memories. Marcus realized with growing horror that every council member species was being controlled by their own medical systems. The peace and prosperity the council boasted about wasn't voluntary. It was enforced by technology that turned entire populations into willing slaves, but the worst discovery came when Marcus found files about Earth's integration schedule. The medical devices being prepared for humanity weren't the basic healing tools he had been studying. They were the full control systems, designed to turn every human into a compliant servant of the council. The timeline was terrifying. Council medical technology would be introduced to Earth's hospitals within months. The devices would be presented as breakthrough treatments for cancer, genetic diseases, and aging. People would line up eagerly to receive technology that would enslave them forever. Marcus tried to access more information, but his council clearance wouldn't allow it. When he asked Vex about human-specific medical preparations, the alien's manner changed slightly. Human physiology requires special consideration, Vex said carefully. We are developing customized treatments for your species' unique biology. The process requires great precision. That night, Marcus received another encrypted message. Meet at old subway tunnel entrance, section C7, midnight. Come alone. Bring proof. Marcus almost didn't go. The meeting could be a trap or a test by council security. But his conscience wouldn't let him ignore what he had learned. He printed out his hidden scans and research, hiding the documents in a medical supply case. The old subway tunnels beneath Geneva had been abandoned for decades. Marcus found section C7 after 20 minutes of searching in the dark. A woman was waiting for him, Dr. Elena Vasquez, the radio astronomer who had made first contact with the council. Dr. Webb, she said quietly. Thank you for coming. I know this is dangerous, Dr. Vasquez, but you're supposed to be at the Australian Council facility. Elena shook her head. I escaped 3 weeks ago. The council has been monitoring all communication from their facilities. Your research into medical devices triggered automatic alerts. They know you've discovered the truth. Marcus felt cold fear wash over him. How do you know this? Because I've been building a resistance network. There are humans in council facilities all over Earth who have discovered pieces of the truth. We've been communicating through old human technology the council can't monitor. Elena pulled out a small device that looked like an old military radio. This is how we stay in contact. We've learned that the council plans to begin full integration of Earth within weeks, not months. The medical rollout is just the beginning. Marcus showed Elena his research, and her face grew grim as she reviewed his findings. This confirms our worst fears. The council isn't just planning to control us, they're planning to harvest us. Harvest? Look at the population data, Elena said, pulling out her own files. Every species the Council has integrated has seen massive population decline within 50 years. They start with the old and sick, claiming they're providing advanced medical care. Then they take the troublemakers and free thinkers for behavioral adjustment. Finally, they begin systematic harvesting of the general population for labor and biological materials. The evidence was overwhelming. Species after species had followed the same pattern: integration, dependency, control, then gradual extinction. The Council maintained small breeding populations to preserve genetic diversity, but the rest of each species simply disappeared. How many people know? Marcus asked. Maybe 200 across the planet. Scientists, military officers, government officials who have maintained access to pre-Council technology. We're calling ourselves the Human Resistance Network. Elena explained that the Resistance had been secretly documenting Council activities for months. They had proof of the deception, evidence of the control systems, and even communication intercepts showing Council plans for Earth. But we have a bigger problem, Elena continued. All of Earth's defense systems have been integrated with Council technology. Our military leaders think they're getting advanced alien weapons, but actually they're giving the Council complete control over our defenses. Marcus understood the implications immediately. When the Council decided to complete Earth's conquest, humanity's own defense systems would be turned against them. Every military base, every government facility, every communication network could be shut down instantly. What can we do? Marcus asked. They have superior technology, billions of troops, and control over our own systems. Elena smiled grimly. We do what humans have always done when faced with impossible odds. We adapt, we improvise, and we fight dirty. The Council has spent thousands of years conquering peaceful species that had forgotten how to wage war. They've never faced a species like us. She pulled out a map of hidden resistance sites. We've been preparing for months. Underground facilities using pre-Council technology, hidden weapon caches, secure communication networks. We can't match their technology, but we can use our knowledge of human history and tactics. Marcus looked at the map, seeing sites scattered across every continent. This is going to be a war unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. Exactly, Elena said. The Council expects easy conquest because every other species has submitted without a real fight. They don't understand what they're dealing with. Humans have been preparing for war our entire evolutionary history. As they prepared to leave, Elena handed Marcus a new communicator and a list of contact protocols. Go back to your facility and act normal. Doc, the message from Captain Sarah Chen reached Earth 3 days before the Council planned to begin Phase 3. Dr. Elena Vasquez received it at a hidden resistance facility buried deep in the Canadian Rockies, and within hours the Human Resistance Network exploded into action. The facility looked like an abandoned mining operation from the outside, but inside it was a maze of tunnels and chambers filled with salvaged human technology. Everything was pre-Council: old computers, analog communication systems, mechanical devices that couldn't be remotely controlled or monitored. Elena stood in the main command center, surrounded by screens showing resistance cells across the globe. General Patricia Harrison, who had officially retired from the military 6 months earlier, studied tactical displays. Dr. Marcus Webb sat at a workstation, frantically analyzing Council medical devices for weaknesses. How long do we have? Harrison asked. Elena checked the encrypted communications from Council facilities around the world. 48 hours at most. Council ships are moving into position around Earth. Their ground forces are already integrated into our own military. Through their advisory programs, the Resistance had spent months preparing for this moment, but the timeline was too fast. They had planned for gradual escalation, not immediate total war. Status report from all cells, Elena called out. Reports came in from around the world. The picture was both encouraging and terrifying. The Resistance had managed to establish hidden bases on every continent, stockpile weapons, and maintain communication networks the Council couldn't detect. But their numbers were small, perhaps 5,000 active members worldwide, facing a galactic empire with billions of troops. We have one advantage, General Harrison said grimly. The Council doesn't know we know. They're expecting to activate their control systems and find a helpless population ready for harvesting. Instead, they're going to find a hornet's nest. Dr. Webb looked up from his analysis. "I found something important. The Council control systems all rely on a central coordination network. If we can disrupt their command structure during the initial phase, we might be able to create enough chaos to even the odds." On the main screen, satellite images showed Council ships taking positions around Earth. The vessels looked peaceful, maintaining the same formations they had held for months. But Resistance members in space facilities reported increased activity and weapon systems coming online. "They're not even trying to hide it anymore," Elena observed. "They must be confident this will be over quickly." General Harrison pulled up a tactical map of Earth. "Here's what we know about their plan. Phase 3 begins with activation of control systems in all major cities simultaneously. Anyone with Council medical implants or devices becomes instantly compliant. Then they shut down our defense networks and land occupation forces." The scale of the deception was staggering. Council medical technology had been distributed to hundreds of hospitals worldwide. Millions of people had received treatments that contained hidden control systems. When activated, those systems would turn Earth's population into willing slaves. "But we have a counter-strategy," Harrison continued. "While they're activating their control systems, we hit their command ships with everything we have. EMP weapons, kinetic strikes, cyber attacks using pre-Council technology they won't expect." Elena pulled up another display showing Resistance assets. "Operation Free Sky is ready to launch. We have teams positioned near every major Council facility on Earth. When they try to activate their control systems, we take out their command centers." The plan was desperate, but elegant. The Resistance had spent months infiltrating Council facilities using maintenance workers, cleaning staff, and other invisible personnel. When the moment came, these teams would simultaneously strike at the control centers managing Earth's enslavement. Dr. Webb had developed the key weapon, a computer virus designed to work on pre-Council human systems. When uploaded to Council networks, it would cause cascade failures throughout their command structure. The virus was crude by Council standards, but that was exactly why it would work. "Remember," Elena addressed the teams via encrypted radio, "we only get one shot at this. Once the Council realizes we're resisting, they'll adapt their tactics. We need to cause maximum damage in the first strike." The waiting was the hardest part. Resistance members around the world sat in hidden bunkers and abandoned buildings, watching Council forces prepare for what should have been an easy conquest. Some team members were barely out of their teens, volunteers who had joined when they learned the truth about Earth's supposed allies. Captain Chen's ship was still 3 days out from Earth, racing home with detailed intelligence about Council capabilities. But they couldn't wait for her arrival. The Resistance had to act with incomplete information and hope for the best. 12 hours before the planned Council activation, Elena received a priority message from a Resistance cell in Geneva. Dr. Webb's replacement at the Council facility had discovered the final piece of the puzzle, the medical control. "Activation is just the beginning," the message read. "Council ships are equipped with planet-wide neural dampening fields. Even people without implants will become docile and compliant within hours of activation." The news was devastating. The Resistance had planned to rely on the unimplanted population for support, but the Council had prepared for that contingency. Once their ships activated the neural fields, most of humanity would lose the will to resist. "Change of plans," General Harrison announced. "We can't wait for their activation. We hit them now while Earth's population is still fully conscious." Elena looked around the command center. 5,000 Resistance members against a galactic empire. It should have been hopeless, but the faces around her showed determination rather than despair. "All teams, this is command," Elena broadcast on all Resistance frequencies. "Operation Free Sky is now active. I repeat, Free Sky is now active. Hit your targets and show these aliens what humans do to slavers." Across the globe, the Resistance struck. In Geneva, Dr. Webb's virus was uploaded to the main Council medical network. In Beijing, a team of engineers activated EMP devices that had been hidden in the Council Cultural Center for months. In Washington, D.C., former military officers launched kinetic strikes against Council communication arrays. The attacks were coordinated and devastating. Council facilities that had operated for months, without security concerns, suddenly found themselves under assault by people they had dismissed as primitive natives. The Council's response was swift but confused. They had expected grateful acceptance or at most scattered protests. Instead, they faced organized military action using tactics they didn't understand. Elena watched the tactical displays as reports came in. Geneva team reports successful virus upload. Beijing has taken out 3 communication nodes. Washington team confirms Council Command Center is offline. But the Council adapted quickly. Within 2 hours, their ships began activating the neural dampening fields earlier than planned. Across Earth's population centers, people began to lose the will to fight or resist. It's working, Dr. Webb reported grimly. The dampening fields are affecting civilian populations in major cities. But our teams in underground facilities are still operational. The resistance had prepared for this contingency by locating their bases in areas shielded from the neural fields, deep underground in remote locations and inside specially modified Faraday cages. Resistance members remained free while the rest of humanity fell under Council influence. General Harrison pulled up orbital tracking data. Council ground forces are beginning to land. They're confident now that the population is pacified. Elena smiled grimly. Then let's remind them why confidence can be dangerous. The second phase of the resistance plan activated. Hidden weapon caches were opened across the globe. Sleeper agents who had spent months integrating into Council security forces revealed themselves. Most importantly, pre-positioned nuclear devices in major population centers were activated. Not to kill civilians, but to create massive electromagnetic pulses that would disrupt Council technology. The EMP strikes worked better than expected. Council systems, designed for a galaxy without nuclear weapons, had no protection against electromagnetic pulses. Ships lost power, communication networks failed, and ground forces found themselves isolated and blind. This is just the beginning, Elena announced to the resistance. We've bought ourselves time, but the real war starts now. The Council knows we're not going quietly, and they'll bring their full strength to bear. As night fell over Earth, fires burned in dozens of cities where resistance fighters battled Council occupation forces. The neural dampening field still affected most of the population, but the resistance had proven that humanity would not be enslaved without a fight. In space, Council reinforcements were already moving toward Earth. The Galactic Empire had been shocked by human resistance, but they had resources beyond imagination. Elena looked at the tactical displays showing the approaching enemy fleets. Thousands of ships carrying weapons that could turn planets to ash. Against them, humanity had a few thousand fighters armed with primitive weapons and desperate courage. General, she said to Harrison, I hope you have more surprises ready, because this is about Tumint every... The Council fleet arrived at Earth expecting to find a conquered world. Instead, they found empty space where their advanced ships should have been waiting. Admiral Thren stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the tactical display with growing confusion. Where are our forward elements? He demanded. His aide, a nervous Zelian with trembling tentacles, checked the communications array. Sir, we lost contact with all orbital units 6 hours ago. Long-range scans show debris fields where our ships were positioned. Thren's pale blue skin darkened with anger. Impossible. Humans have no weapons capable of destroying Council vessels. But the evidence was undeniable. 12 Council ships had simply vanished, leaving only wreckage in Earth's orbit. The primitive humans had somehow managed to destroy an entire task force. On Earth's surface, the situation was equally baffling. Council ground forces that had landed confidently the day before were now sending panicked distress calls. Major cities that should have been under complete control were burning war zones. Sir, another aide reported, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's on a primitive radio frequency. Put it through, Thren ordered. The voice that emerged from the speakers was calm and human. This is Elena Vasquez speaking for the human resistance. Council ships, you have one chance to withdraw from Earth space. Leave now and we'll consider not hunting you across the galaxy. Thren laughed, a sound like crystal breaking. Reply on all frequencies. Tell them they face the might of the Galactic Council. Surrender immediately or face total destruction. The response came back within minutes. Admiral Thren, this is Elena Vasquez again. Thank you for identifying yourself. We've been looking forward to meeting you. By the way, you might want to check on your base at Proxima Centauri. Thren's amusement died as emergency alerts flooded his command center. The Proxima base, one of the Council's major staging areas, was under attack. Somehow human ships had appeared in the system and were systematically destroying Council installations. How is this possible? Thren whispered. Humans don't have faster-than-light technology. His tactical officer pointed at the display. Sir, those aren't human ships. They're using Zephyrian, Corvani, and Deltan designs, ships that were supposed to have been scrapped centuries ago. The truth hit Thren like a physical blow. The resistance wasn't just human. It was a coalition of enslaved species that had somehow broken free of Council control. Every civilization the Council had integrated over the past 1,000 years was rising in rebellion. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the refitted Zephyrian dreadnought Freedom's Dawn, watching Council ships burn in the Proxima system. Around her, a crew of humans and liberated aliens worked together with grim efficiency. "Target the command ship," she ordered. "Let's send a message." The ancient weapon systems, thought obsolete by Council standards, proved devastatingly effective against shields designed to stop modern energy weapons. The Council's technological superiority meant nothing when facing weapons they had forgotten existed. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving surrender requests from Council forces across the system." Sarah's expression was cold. "Tell them they can surrender to the populations they enslaved. We're moving to the next target." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds. The human resistance had done more than prepare for war on Earth. They had made contact with surviving populations from every species the Council had conquered. Using captured Council technology and ancient ship designs, they had built a fleet capable of striking anywhere in Council space. The key had been the Zephyrian ship Sarah discovered. Its databases contained the locations of hidden survivor populations throughout the galaxy. More importantly, it held the plans for weapons and ships that predated Council defenses. General Harrison had been right about humanity's advantage. While the Council had grown soft and complacent, humans understood warfare in ways the civilized galaxy had forgotten. But humans had added something else: the moral fury of a species that refused to be enslaved. On Earth, the liberation was spreading faster than the Council could respond. The neural dampening fields that were supposed to pacify the population had an unexpected weakness. They only worked on people who weren't actively fighting for their lives. Dr. Marcus Webb stood in a liberated Council medical facility, working frantically to reverse the control implants that had been installed in millions of humans. Each freed person joined the resistance, and each new fighter made the next liberation easier. "The virus is working better than we hoped," he reported to Elena. "Council control systems are failing across 3 continents. Their communication networks are completely corrupted," Elena nodded. But her attention was focused on the orbital battle developing above Earth. The main Council fleet was finally beginning to fight back, and humanity's makeshift defenses were taking heavy casualties. "General, what's the status of Operation Wildfire?" Harrison smiled grimly. "Active across 47 star systems. Every major Council world is under attack simultaneously. They wanted to harvest us, so we're giving them a taste of what being prey feels like." The strategy was pure human. Instead of fighting defensively, the resistance had gone on the offensive across the entire galaxy. Council forces found themselves stretched thin, trying to protect hundreds of worlds from coordinated strikes by species they thought they had eliminated. Admiral Thren watched his empire crumble in real time. Reports flooded in from across Council space. Rebellions on slave worlds, attacks on military bases, entire fleets defecting to join the resistance. The carefully maintained peace of 10,000 years was collapsing in a matter of days. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked his aide. "Current estimates suggest 60% of our fleet is either destroyed or has joined the rebellion, sir. The Corvani Third Fleet declared independence 6 hours ago. The Deltan worlds have formed their own government and are actively hunting Council forces." Thren stared at the tactical display showing red symbols spreading across the galaxy like a plague. Each symbol represented a world in rebellion, a population that had remembered what freedom meant. "This is impossible," he whispered. "We controlled them. We made them dependent on us." His chief tactical officer, one of the few Council members present, gestured at the displays. "Sir, we underestimated the psychological impact of hope. Once these species realized resistance was possible, their control conditioning broke down rapidly. On Earth, Elena received a message that made her smile for the first time in months. Captain Chen's voice crackled through the ancient radio system. "Elena, this is Sarah. I'm transmitting from the former Council stronghold at Rigel. The local population has declared independence and wants to join our alliance. Also, I have a gift for you. The gift was Admiral Thren himself, captured when his flagship was boarded by a joint human-Zephyrian strike team. The alien who had orchestrated humanity's deception sat in the brig of a human ship, his pale blue skin now gray with defeat. Elena stood before the Admiral, flanked by General Harrison and Dr. Webb. Through the transparent barrier, Thren looked smaller than he had in the first contact transmissions, his arrogance replaced by confusion and fear. "You were supposed to be grateful," Thren said weakly. "We offered you paradise, peace, prosperity, freedom from war and suffering." Elena's voice was cold as space. "You offered us slavery disguised as paradise. You wanted to harvest us like cattle. But you made one crucial mistake." "What mistake?" "You assumed we were like every other species you've conquered. You thought we'd choose comfortable slavery over dangerous freedom. You never understood that humans would rather die fighting than live on their knees." Dr. Webb stepped forward. "Admiral, your control implants are failing across the galaxy. Every population you've enslaved is remembering what it means to be free. Your empire is finished." Thren looked through the barrier with desperate eyes. "What do you want? Surrender? Reparations? We can negotiate terms." General Harrison spoke for the first time. "Admiral, we're not interested in ruling your empire. We're interested in making sure no species ever has to face what you put us through. Your ships, your technology, your knowledge, all of it will be redistributed to the people you enslaved." Elena pulled out a communication device and activated a galaxy-wide broadcast. Her voice reached every world, every ship, every enslaved population across Council space. "This is Elena Vasquez, speaking for the Free Species Alliance. The Galactic Council's reign of deception is over. To every population still under Council control, rise up. Fight back. Your freedom is waiting." She looked directly at Admiral Thren as she continued. "To any Council forces still resisting, we give you the same word we gave your leaders when they tried to enslave us. Run." The message echoed across the galaxy, carried by captured Council communication networks to every world in their former empire. On planets where Council rule had seemed eternal, populations rose in rebellion. Ships that had served the Council for centuries declared independence. The age of enforced peace was ending in the fire of liberation. Admiral Thren slumped against the wall of his cell, finally understanding the magnitude of their failure. The Council had spent 10,000 years building an empire based on deception and control.